Hello, students. Today we are going to do an introduction to Kabir. Under this topic, we will be doing Kabir's life, Kabir's work and the influence of Bhakti movement, Kabir's spirituality, and the contemporary relevance of Kabir's work. To begin with a little introduction, today we are living in a world when there are repressive hegemonic structures that are transforming into newer forms and in even greater proportions. This has left humanity extremely vulnerable and susceptible to its distorted and gilded dispositions at times. The culture of silencing dissent and encouraging discourses on war and enmity is rampant. In a relentlessly globalizing world, virtues such as fellow feeling, love, empathy, and compassion are fast disappearing and is replaced with atomistic individualism, hatred, and intolerance. In these tumultuous times, while corrupt forces are tirelessly working to rip humanity apart on violent religious political lines, there is a need to look back at the life, work, and philosophies of humanists like Kabir, who was not just a poet saint, who not only tried to synthesize religion like Hinduism and Islam, but also attacked follies of orthodox religion and always called his listeners to direct experience of the divine here and now. We'll begin with the life of Kabir. Kabir's life abounds in legend. Born in late 14th century, when Delhi and the whole of North India became weak due to unending hostilities between the Hindus and the Muslim. What was needed was an alternative, orientation to spiritual thought. Then came the Bhakti movement with Mirabai, Surdas, Raidas, and others. Kabir was a product of the Bhakti school. He lived and flourished in Banaras. Most scholars would agree with the Kabir Panthis that Nehru, a poor weaver, and his wife Nima found the infant Kabir on a lotus leaf in Leher Tank in Banaras. Nehru and Nima were Julaha or Musalmans, weavers who lived on the outskirts of Kashi. As a weaver, he was one of the untouchables, the lowest caste in Hindu society, along with other artisans such as potters, dyers, and cobblers. As far as the stories of the Hindus go, Kabir was the illegitimate son of a Brahmin widow. The Muslims, on the other hand, believed that Kabir's parents were Musalmans. The theory of his immaculate birth has been rejected by most scholars. Kabir himself declared, "I am neither a Hindu nor a Muslim." Kabir remained a myth and mystery in his lifetime and beyond. A disciple of the great Hindu Pandit preacher, philosopher reformer Saint Ramananda, he was the focal point of Bhakti movement and was steeped in Hindu philosophy and obscure practices. Kabir declared that, "I am a child of Allah and Ram." He was born in 1440 AD. The probable date of his death is 1519 AD, as mentioned in Kabir Ki Shanti. A Qazi was called in to give the child a name when he was born. The Qazi told Nehru that the child was a demon and should be killed immediately. However, a miracle happened. The knife was plunged into the heart of the child, but no drop of blood came out. Kabir uttered a verse which made them understand that he was not an ordinary child, not someone made of ordinary flesh and blood. According to legends, Kabir was the disciple of the celebrated sage Ramananda. He was a great sage of Banaras, and he was a staunch devotee of the Vaishnava school of Hindu religion. Ramananda was an orthodox Pandit and religious leader. He would not even look at the untouchables and would not entertain any lower caste people. Kabir was a Muslim of no standing, so it was almost impossible for him to gain his discipleship. However, as the story goes, once in the early pre dawn twilight, when Ramananda used to take bath in the Ganga, Kabir lay down at the steps of the river Ghat, and the sage, without knowing or seeing, stepped over him, hitting his head with his foot. Startled, he uttered Ram Ram. At this, Kabir silently got up and declared that he was the disciple of great Ramananda. Ramananda's Hindu disciples were much perturbed at this and questioned why their master had granted such a person discipleship. The Guru denied, and Kabir was brought in. He asked why Kabir made such a false claim as to be his disciple. Kabir replied, "Sir, I was initiated on the steps of the Ghat. You touched my forehead with your foot and gave me the mantra Ram Ram. Through this, he gained the discipleship of Ramananda. Through his guru, Kabir is said to have achieved enlightenment at the age of 20. It is said that on meeting Kabir, Ramananda said that, "O Kabir, all my ambivalence and sufferings are vanished forever." Kabir is said to have a tremendous impact on religious hardliners of his time, like Guru Nanak. There are numerous references to Kabir in Janam Sakhis and in the family of Nanak. Kabir was held with reverence and respect. Nirmala and Udasi, the professed follower of Nanak, regard Kabir as their guru. A hymn by Dulan Das, Nanak's follower, goes thus: Nanak is the name of the religion of Kabir. The Guru has told me so openly. Dhruv Prahlad was intoxicated in that juice, and Shiva remained in Samadhi. Kabir learned mainly through hearing and has been called the Bahu Sutra, one who hears much. He learned not only from his master, Guru Ramananda, but is also said to have gathered knowledge from the many Sakhis and Peers of Jaunpur and Jhansi. Kabir was plainly a skeptic, and he was openly vocal about his dislike of all institutional religion and all external observance. Kabir's teaching had a lot of influence of the Bhakti movement. V. Raghavan, in his book, The Great Integrator, the Saint Singer of India, describes Bhakti movement as a democratic doctrine which consolidates all people without distinction of caste, community, nationality, or sex. It spread as a movement across North and South India. Among the Bhakti movement, the Hindu Bhakti movement makes a distinction between Nirgun and Shagun, Vaishnava and Saint tradition. The liberal Bhakti tradition centered around the idea of an identifiable God who is just and one for all and who makes no distinction between men. Such liberal Bhakti poets identified themselves with the anguish, pain, and suffering of the commoners. Even though they were not social reformers or revolutionaries, nevertheless, through the dissenting voices, they spoke out against the social ills of their time and lashed out at the institutions that stood in way of human progress. They dared to question the prevailing customs and traditions codified in the name of religion. Kabir, being greatly influenced by the Bhakti tradition, tried to bring about Hindu and Muslim reconciliation in a downright confrontational manner. He rejected the usefulness of the scriptures of both religions because they were misused and distorted by the so called guardians of this religion. And by doing so, he could bring about a synthesis of the two great religions. He was a self taught person who united Ram and Rahim and preached the existence of one God. He questioned the basic tenets of both religion and also the need for a holy book. He also questioned the need for a religion and rejected the hypocrisy of misguided truths evident in his times. Kabir spoke strongly against social discrimination and economic exploitation. Kabir's philosophy is seeking the absolute, in whom all contraries merges. The nirguns that denies distinction between soul and God and endorses the idea of true divinity lying within the man himself. He argues that if God is within, if God dwells within, then that would be a call to abolish all external bhakti. Kabir was a true seeker and visited many places and met many holy men, and in his own way realized the emptiness of rituals and modes of worship. His poetry has a concise, pithy, and earthy touch with regular use of vernaculars borrowed from Brij, Bhojpuri, Awadhi dialects of Hindi. Though Kabir was a disciple of Ramananda, he allowed himself to be guided by Kabir's intuitive truth and his ideas which changed the Guru in certain matters. The Guru would hear him and take his hint of inner path and its ways. Ahmad Shah, in his impartial introduction to the Bijak, remarks, "There is every reason to believe that Ramananda was largely influenced by Kabir. This is because after Kabir, he started accepting low caste people as devotees in his fold." This brings us to the discussion of Kabir's spirituality. Born with keen intellect, a sharp mind, extraordinary judgment and understanding, Kabir showed signs of a spiritual predisposition from a very early age. Wherever he went, he carried the loom with him and worked on it because he was a weaver. His love for loom and living on his humble labor motivated him to live even on poverty. This reflects his disdain for worldly and material things. 15th century was the time of the blossoming of bhakti poetry in India by the great devotees and poets like Vidyapati, Umapati, Mirabai and Ravidas. This trend actually started in Tamil Nadu in the 16th century, initiated by the Vaishnavite and Shivite saints. Kabir's life and work enriched this movement. Kabir attempted to surpass the religious boundaries of the northern India and to promote harmony between Hinduism, Islam, and other non Hindu religions. His faith focused on God who dwelled within. Therefore, when he mentioned names like Ram and Hari, he basically talked about the all pervading reality which is being identified with Shunya, the void, or what Kabir calls the Sahaj, the overwhelming state. Therefore, clearly, when he mentions the name Rama, he is not the son of King Dasharath, but a union of Ishwar and Allah. He is against the dualistic view of reality and believes in the essential oneness of things. He therefore rejects the double standards and ill advised fruits and rituals of religious practices. The beautiful allegory of a running hare falling in the ravines set in one of the Sakhi's examples, the condition of people running after allurement and falling in the mire of greed, illusion, materialism, racial intolerance, pride, and self importance. Kabir's Nirguna school constitutes a direct tradition of bhakti with its strong emphasis on the idea of an impersonal God and the importance placed on self knowledge and reasoning. Kabir was always pointing out the meaninglessness of various religious doctrines and practices. Kabir's verses were incorporated in the Adi Granth and remained one of the major influences on Guru Nanak, who later founded Sikhism. Kabir's influence on the Granth is apparent from the fact that 2/3 of the Granth is devoted to Kabir. About Kabir's inclusion in the Adi Granth, Karaim Shomer says, the selection must have been made on the basis of conformity to the moods and motivations of the Sikh religious community at that particular stage of development. Different religious traditions interpreted Kabir in different ways. The Kabir of the Guru Granth appears as a householder, saint, emphasizing company or good people. The Vaishnava Kabir is persuaded by lover's intensity, while Western Kabir is devotionally oriented or preoccupied. The Banaras Kabir is different from all these. Kabir's initiation by a Brahmin, Ramananda, reflects a liberal theology and the charisma of Kabir himself. Now we come to Kabir's contemporary relevance. Kabir is not just a religious revolutionary. His teaching is based on Oriental thought. His main concern was to drive home his message of unity, religious tolerance, and the brotherhood of mankind were the chief lessons he taught and he sought to indoctrinate. His religion is a religion of compassion to all, like that of the Buddha. He refused the Vedas, the Hindu system of philosophy, and emphasized how these beliefs and their associated rituals are powerless to save men from the clutches of conservatism and dogmatism. Like Buddha, Kabir postulated that nothing in the universe is true and real, and it is all misleading. To Kabir, all the regulations of caste and religion and their rituals are pretentious and misleading, irrational, that only helps to bind men's rational mind and foster hopelessness and self-importance. Thus, Kabir waged a relentless war with the evils of his times and remained a relentless struggle in the conventional religious heads of his time. Kabir has a special way of addressing the readers, the masses, forcing one to look at the web of the self deception and lies surrounding men. He nudges one to constantly question the established order of his time, and he did so with his poetry. The major repository of his poems has been the oral tradition. Singers across country would take the poems and set them to music, passing them from one group to another, from one generation to another. This oral tradition is still prevalent and flourishing today amongst monks and ascetics. Some of them are the Guru Granth or the Adi Granth, the sacred book of the Sikhs, which contains notes of the early Sikh gurus and other saint poets they admired, including Kabir. It was composed in the current form around 1603 BCE in the Punjab. The Rajasthani Midwest collection, Panchavani, the words of the five, which includes the saying of five saints, and the Bijak, the scripture of the Kabir Panthis, which only contains works pertaining to Kabir and was compiled in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar in the east. Both of the latter took shape during the 17th century. These collections of poetic work overlap with each other, but they also emphasize different facets of Kabir's life. While the Guru Granth and Panchavani show a more emotional poet singing to blissful insight, separation from the beloved, and offering himself in total submission, the Bijak shows him as an intense ascetic leader or teacher trying to awaken and shaken listeners out of their slumber. The best known translation in the West until recently were Tagore's rendering of 100 Songs published in 1915 and Blee's version of Tagore. There is also an excellent work by Linda Hess as well as Robert Blee. It is from these outstanding works that we can gather much knowledge about Kabir and the kind of influence he had on the socio-religious customs and practices of his time. With this, we come to the conclusion of our discussion. Today, when we focus on the challenges of our times, we find a desperate need to recall all these secular, egalitarian, democratic values and humanistic principles rendered by one of the great men of history, Kabir. He suffered heavily for his revolutionary ideas, valuing human equality and dignity, acceptance of particular religious orientation, a concern for how he might become resource for consolidation of an open, democratic, and dialogue-oriented society. His ultimate involvement with the audience, his mass appeal, his approach to problem confronting the then society of his times, the prescriptions and antidotes given by him to the heterogeneous masses from different religious beliefs, his efforts to question the sanity and sanctity of scriptures, his continuous challenge to Brahminical orthodoxy, to connect with the audience in native languages, to empathize with the common man and his problems, makes him hero for all those who seeks to create an open and egalitarian society. His life and living, his poets and philosophy has stood as a witness for innumerable generations to come. Kabir's popularity in popular culture also attests further to his living presence. Although the spirit of devotion pervades whole of India and found vivid, beautiful expression in the poetry of Kabir, no matter what religious faith he believed in and their literary composition, he rendered into offering that nothing else could have done at that time, and yet it is considered as religious poetry, which is prevalent in the contemporary Indian society. We must yield to the fact that the entire humanity is on the brink of disaster, as our point of consideration has shifted from humanism to monetary and material gains. Our artificial physical needs have led us to a cycle of never ending needs and cravings. The poetry of Kabir is still relevant in the modern perspective, and it is an expression of substance and provides us a wider vision of life. It has an ability to drive everyone to concentrate and improve his or her inner self so as to make his life better and blissful. The need of the hour is that the poetry of Kabir be understood in right perspective. In a country of religious divergence, teachings of Kabir are vital, reminder to all men that it is tremendously important to rise above narrow sectarianism and value the ideals of humanism. Thus, Kabir stands as a champion of Hindu and Muslim unity, a promoter of the universal religion and the religion of men. In the popular book called Kabir, the Great Mystic, the author Isaac Ezekiel says, Kabir's song seeks nobody's approbation. They seek no sanction, ask for no approval, search for no popularity, invite no condemnation, and crave no compliment. They stand independent of these considerations, and they constitute the most uninhabited literature, the freest of free writings ever produced by a saint. Thank you.